192 if you need it, the Bible. Yes, that's the book for me.
Amen.
I stand alone on the Word of God. Let's stand together. We got to stand up. Ruby knows this one. You ready, Ruby?
Yeah.
Here we go. The Bible. Yes, that's the book for me. I stand alone on the Word of God. The Bible. Bible. Nobody's holding their Bible up. Get your Bible ready. Come on. Come on. Here we go. Y'all ready? The Bible. Yes, that's the book for me. I stand alone on the Word of God. The Bible. Bible. All right. Spider-Man will catch up sometime. Okay. All right. Thank you. You may be seated. I'm going to read us a missionary letter, and then we'll take up a missionary offering, okay, as we did last week. The bucket's down front, and it's already getting pretty heavy.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll fill up 2 or 3 of them by the time next mission conference rolls around. And then when the missionaries come in, we'll be like, here you go. Praise the Lord. And they'll be excited to see jugs full of cash. Amen. Wouldn't that be awesome? So this morning, if you have your bulletin handy, our missionary letter is the Terry, is that Unrum family? Am I saying that right? Unrum. Terry Unrum. They are missionaries to Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka, that's a little tiny island just south of India. And boy, if you've seen the news lately, they've had some troubled times. And so I'll just read about 2 or 3 paragraphs here. I'm not going to read the whole letter to get into every little detail. But, dear friends, a missions camp with the Colombo Baptist Church was held in our leased Haptal mountain facility towards the end of March. Daily tract distributions and soul winning door to door in the mountain regions where the mission stations had been established was blessed of the Lord. At a mission station in a high T mountain area in Panagolia, around 225 children and youth, along with adults, gathered for a neighborhood Bible time, neighborhood Bible club event. How many ever heard of neighborhood Bible time? They did a lot of it in college, and it's a blessing. It's a good thing to get the local youth into your church. But they even do neighborhood Bible time in Sri Lanka, which is a blessing. Groups were divided by ages, and the people went to work! ! Following the games, the gospel presentations we were given, many received Christ as the Savior. And the next day of the mission camp found us on the tea plantation outside Haptal. I hope I say that right. It's the name of a town. And the camp team went from house to house and person to person and invited them to attend the impromptu neighborhood Bible time club. In a very short time, over 300 children, youth, plus adults gathered at the open field and were in the open field where a new Hindu temple and statues were being built. As the gospel was being given and following the games, it was interesting to note that the builders of the new statue god were listening while they were making their 7-foot god. Isn't that something? They're erecting this great big god to Hindu, and meanwhile they're having a neighborhood Bible time and people are getting involved. That's pretty amazing. When the invitation to accept Christ was given, a chorus from the people prayed to accept Christ. Their voices echoed back from the buildings and the mountainside. The workers and the statues paused and didn't resume their work till the crowd started disappearing. Wow, isn't that something? A holy hush just came over that place because an invitation was given and the praises of God and people were getting saved. I would like to have been there. That's pretty cool. In the midst of all this turmoil of their country, pray for the church and the missions in the areas of they should disciple them as their believers. I'll get you into some more news facts of this letter. On the month of April and May, we've seen Sri Lanka reel under serious economic and political crises, and I'm sure that you guys have seen the news headlines. a compilation of corruption and fallout from the Easter 2019 terrorist attacks that killed nearly 300 and extremities of COVID shutdowns has drained the financial reserves. There is food, fuel, and pharmaceutical shortages that have spawned massive protests. And if you saw the news, they marched on the president's capitol and were eating his goldfish, amen, in protest, and burning political homes and businesses. They currently killed, 8 were killed and 200 hospitalized with injuries suffered. Regular curfews are called and spontaneous as the army and the political police force of the country. Long fuel lines, gas cooking shortages, that's your natural gas and propane gas, extremely high prices, available foods, causing people to panic and demand solutions from the government. Please pray for $6,000 to help people in their churches with medical needs, housing, food, essentials, fuel, utilities, as we face 40% plus inflation. I've heard it was 50 plus even after this letter. Could you imagine the value of your money is cut in half instantly? Okay, so these people are hurting, and you can believe that. I know we're about, they say, 9% inflation, and we're suffering with that. But Pastor Ray Croker from Heritage Baptist Church of Singapore recently notified me that he's providing $3,000. He can help to apply to this. But my God shall supply all your needs according to his riches in glory by Christ Jesus. Prayer request. So there is some specific prayer requests. Pray for the daughter Jessica, for her safety and wisdom as she's teaching and needs and she labors with us in Sri Lanka. Pray for colleagues, national pastors, churches, and their safety as they minister amongst this crisis. And pray for ministry registrations along the mountains with the camps and the children homes and the training centers. So that is your missionaries to Sri Lanka, Terry and Maria. Okay? Myra. Terry and Myra. So this time we'll have a little jingle. We'll play a little music. And the kids, if you, like I said, if you don't want to get up yourself and bring it to the pot, give it to one of these youngsters. Okay? Get them involved in the giving. Okay? All right. Let's have our missionary offering at this time. Amen. That does something for me, seeing them little snappers get part of the giving. Amen. Weekly Bible verse is, how many got a bulletin on your hand? Anybody got a bulletin? Yeah. Okay. All right. We'll have to work on getting more bulletins in the Sunday school hour, okay? But I'll just read it for you. Maybe going forward we could read it responsively. But our weekly Bible verse is 1 Corinthians 6:19 and 20. What? Know ye not that your body is the temple of the Holy Ghost, which is in you, which ye have of God, and ye are not your own, for ye are bought with a price. Therefore glorify God in your body and in your spirit, which are God's. And that is a beautiful verse. Your body is the temple of the Holy Ghost, not a canvas. to get yourself tattooed. Amen. So let's stand together. We'll pray, and we'll dismiss to Sunday school. I believe I've covered it. Yep. Like I said, we'll go to our respective classes, and Sunday school we'll say 10 till Sunday school teachers. We'll knock it off, and then we'll have that buffer time to come back up here. Okay, let's pray. Father in heaven, thank you so much for the Sunday school hour. We love you, and we just pray that the lessons would hit hearts and minds, and that we would learn and be nurtured in the admonition of the Lord. Thank you for your goodness and your love, and thank you for the great congregation that showed up for Sunday school. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. Thank you. You're dismissed.
This format that we've adopted reminds me of when I was a lot younger. That's the way we opened Sunday school. Yeah. The whole family got together. Yeah. We had announcements. But you know what I really think is a distinguishing highlight of this new format? Yeah, amen. You know, you stop and think about it. If it weren't for missionaries, where would God's word be? You know, I've heard the pastor say, and he said it kiddingly, but I think if I were being called, first of all, you need to be called. You don't volunteer, okay? To be called to be a missionary, I would probably say, well, if it's Honolulu or, I don't know, maybe Austin, Texas. Oh, my Texas people are gone. Yeah, if you had your... But look at these people who are serving in third world countries with a kind of inflation rate. They don't have what you and I have. You know, we have become, and I'm going to get into our lesson here in a minute, we have become such nationalists. You know what a nationalist is? That's an individual who has been spoiled by their own country. And there aren't many of us left, nationalists. You are one. You don't know it. You are so spoiled living in the United States. Did you really have to sweat too much to get up this morning and get ready to come to church? Oh, it's raining. I can't go. Yeah. No, it has nothing to do with being a nationalist. My point is this, that when you think about people within God's word and who he has called, they are called for a purpose. That purpose is primarily singular in nature. That is to take the word to the world. Okay? Now you're saying, well, I can't do much. Well, let's not take the whole earth. Let's just take your own little Jerusalem, your own neighborhood, okay? Working within our own church to reach out to people. I say this in introduction because last week we talked, first of all, about the seriousness of receiving a commandment. If you turn your Bibles to Jonah, chapter 1, we didn't get much farther than that last week. We're slow, Pastor. We just don't move very fast, okay? And if you look at this, the word, okay, it says, now the word of the Lord came unto Jonah, the son of Amittai, saying what? He only gives two things to do. What's he say? And go. Yeah. Does that sound like a directive to you or a suggestion? That is not a suggestion. Okay, now let's tie my first point in with this point right here. When we have a direction to do something, and some of you, I think several of you have been in the military, as I said last week. When you join or are forced to join, whichever way it was, it's a whole new world, right, guys? Yeah. All of a sudden, There's not mama at your bedside in the morning saying, wake up, little George, little Don, little Bob, whatever your name is, okay? No. 0500 means 5 a.m. And you better be up and ready. Now, if you aren't, are there consequences? Yeah. Some of them are too pleasant. Okay? So something happened here. And you have to really look more than what's in this first couple of verses or even the whole book. It's not a big book, okay? But you stop and think about it. Jonah had a problem. God said, go. Jonah said, no. Do we have a communications issue here? I think we do. Okay? I've asked 2 of our younger people to stand by today as volunteers. They don't know it. Well, one of them does, the other one doesn't. I want to demonstrate this to you. Okay? So here's my lovely, recently wed couple who said they're too young to be in with us old people, but come forward, please. You don't have to say anything. You don't have to act out anything. Just follow the directions. And I know that's asking a lot, okay? All right, would you, where can everybody, right down here. You stand over here, Silas, and you stay over here, about 6 feet apart. Now, aren't they a cute couple? Oh, to be young again. I think I remember some of that. Okay, turn around, face each other. All right, now, this is a married couple. And as any young married couple, they like to share their love for one another. Correct? That's what love and marriage is all about. Okay? You know those little butterfly kisses as she walks down the hallway and all that little pat. You know, all that stuff that makes you sick after. No, I mean, it kind of reminds you of what it used to be. Okay? Now, here's the instructions. You remain constant. You don't move. I'm talking to my brother, Tyler. Okay? You're about 6 feet apart. I want you to take a step halfway toward her, which would be how many feet? No, you're 6 feet apart. That'd be 3 feet. Move 3 feet, roughly. Okay. Everything's fine so far. Okay? Now, what's his ultimate goal? Okay? I want some sugar, honey. Okay? Now, the next commandment is to move half toward her, which would be how far? It was 3 feet. 1.5. So move 1.5. Okay. So now, what's half of 1.5? 3/4? Are you going to move 3/4? Got a question for the rest of you who are so scientifically minded and space relationship. How long is it going to take him to get to her? Huh? Infinite. Why? Because they put a restriction on him. You can only move halfway. You move another halfway, you're down to half or 3/4, and you're never going to get to her. Because there is no end of measurement, just like time, okay? It could be down to the quadrillionth of an inch or whatever it might be, but you're still not get to her. That's my point. You can sit down. Thanks for volunteering. My point is this. When God calls, he expects something to happen. Yeah. What is it? Go! Are we called? Sure, but sometimes somebody, including ourselves, we put restrictions upon our movement. I'll share a story with you that I'm not proud of. When I was first converted from Methodist to Baptist and learned what the Bible is really all about, I had hired this young man. His name was Ray Fleming. He turned out to be one of my best friends. And I was working at Dayton Power Line at that time, and I had, 40-some people in this particular department hired him. And he was drafted. This is back in Vietnam era, okay? And he had talked to me before about he had been attending church, and he was interested in learning more about becoming a Christian. And he asked me one Friday night, I remember this very well. He said, Don, could I see you tomorrow, Saturday? I'll come to your house. I just want to know more about what's it mean to be a Christian. And he was a fine young man, okay? Good family. And I said, sure. I said, sure. And I said, do you want me to come to your house? He says, no, I'll come to your house. That's more convenient for you. What I found out later was his family's Catholic, and he didn't want somebody who's not Catholic in their household, okay? Found this out later. But my point was, I said, yeah, I'll meet you. And then somehow, some way, under my lack of poor understanding or poor planning, I left the house. To do what? Play a softball game. You say, what's so bad about that? The young man died in a car wreck on his way over. I should have gone. I should have gone. I don't share that with you as a braggart point. It broke my heart. And it took me a long time in working with the Lord and through his word to accept the fact that I was wrong. I asked for forgiveness. God forgave me. Same thing applies here in terms of Jonah. It always amazes me that when we either preach from, read from, give exposition thereof, when we read books in the Bible, we have a tendency to classify the main character. They're either a hero or a zero. You know, all that demonstrates to you and me is that God loves everybody, and he can use each and every one of us, even if we think we have the rough edges and so on and so forth. But I'm going to get back to Jonah here for a second. I've often thought, I've read this book so many times, but I never really got into this depth of it until I was asked to help the pastor in participating in the next 12 or 13 weeks about this book of Jonah. And I learned some things about him. He's mentioned 3 other times in the Bible, okay, in Matthew, and a couple times in Luke, okay? But that didn't really tell me what I was searching for until I got into 2 Kings, and he's mentioned in there too. And I'm just going to read this to you because it's a lot of history, but it makes sense to kind of figure out and understand why Jonah was reluctant to go. Now, he comes from a good family. Let's not get into the family part of it. A good background. But if you look at the other prophetical books, okay, there's many theologians, and I'm not asking for an argument, who don't know if he wrote this book or not. It may be just a story of Jonah as recorded. But the point, that's not the real point here. What I want to get across to us is this. The book is mostly a narrative, all right? But during Jeroboam, who was the king of the north, remember, is that right? Northern Israel, okay, around 800 BC, Israel enjoyed such prosperity. Now, you can't say that about Israel through all of its time. There was a lot of bad times in Israel, but at this time things were looking good, okay? And the people easily developed selfish, nationalistic attitudes. Now, let me explain that to you. If you're born in 44, are you a war baby or a post-war baby? Well, either way. In the Second World War around that time. Yeah, that's when I came about. Grew up in a family in a little 2-bedroom house with 9 kids. You talk about fun. Okay, wasn't. But my point is this. As we proceeded to grow together as a family, we were not well off by any stretch of the imagination. Okay? We had some hard times. Our nation was going through some hard times. You know, people who read the history books today, They think that the Depression started in 1929, it was over by 19, no. The Depression effects of depression is just like the effects we're right now with inflation. That's not going to go away by some legislation signed tomorrow. It takes time. And same way with the Depression. But back about between Truman and Eisenhower, the early 50s, the nation started to respond. We started to grow again. People were working. Things were going good for us. And it was become, help me out here, some of you old timers, it was a time where you had like 2 chickens in every pot or 2, or something like that, okay? We were doing well. We were doing well. We had new housing start, okay? I remember we grew up around Springboro, and some of you remember a little place out there, it's called, what was that plaque called? Right there in town. Little slab homes. They looked like the old Huber homes. And we thought, man, if we could just live in a house like that, we'd be top drawer material. But my point is this. Things just started progressing and getting well, better, better, better. And it soon became an expectation that we were always going to be this way. So we became what Jonah did here for Israel. We became nationalists. That's not a bad word. The opposite of that is called xenophobia. Have you ever heard that word before? That means when you don't like some other culture or some other group of people. Remember when our former president was called a xenophobe and everything else? He didn't like Mexicans, Nicaraguans, Venezuelans, whatever, okay? It's a way that people grow up in cultures. I'll give you another example. My father was an attorney. I think I've shared that with most of you. His partner was a Jew, okay? I grew up hearing a lot of things bad about Jewish people. Now, I never went to school with Jewish kids, didn't have any Jewish friends. I don't even know where the nearest rabbi would be. My point is this. I went off to college, went to Miami University in Oxford, Ohio. I had 2 roommates, and guess what they were? Jews. Now, do you think I had some predetermined conceptions of what a Jewish person's like? And I found out, boy, you've missed the boat. They're people, just like you, just like me. And that's what happened here. I think Jonah got so, maybe even angry or disturbed with God saying, I want you to go to this country called Nineveh, city called Nineveh. It isn't exactly a good city, as God tells. He knows that because Jonah is part of this kingdom growth, so to speak, under Jeroboam. And as he saw this, he says, why would I want to go there? I'd rather see them destroyed. Do you think maybe when he starts thinking that way, that it's not a surprise to you as to what happens to him here? So now all of a sudden he says, I'm not going to do this. I think he had a meeting with himself and no God in sight and said, I'm not going to do this. So when God tells you to do something, you got a couple choices. You either accept or you run away. And Jonah thought he could run from God. You ever try to do that, Wayne? You ever try to run away from God? Can't do it, can you, bro? Go to the depths of hell, the deepest sea. Go wherever you go, anywhere in the cosmos. God's there. God's there. God's there. Brian, did you ever get so low sometimes that you believe or think, maybe not believe, that God has just left you? I think all of us at some time, some degree, do that. Okay? We just think, I don't know where he is. Well, if you look around, he ain't moved. He's the same place. Same love, the same grace. It's that we have stepped out of bounds. And that's what happens here. When his first reaction, like I said, of Jonah's, was to refuse to go. He would rather see Nineveh destroyed than spared such a fitting judgment. And you know, this is the only book in the Bible where, in this case, the Jonah, who's the prophet here, there's very little in here about what he preached. Almost nothing. Content. The purpose of this book is to give us direction. That if you just follow obediently and stay in step, okay? Those of you who are in the military, did you have some guys in your group that just couldn't march? I would be one of those. I have no rhythm whatsoever. They'll give you rhythm. Yeah, they don't inject it. They just force feed it, okay? But to this day, when you all can stand up right now and you can clap the music. I wouldn't dare do that. I'd be so far off, I wouldn't know where I am, okay? That's just a default of mine. But my point is this. When God makes that call, which he did to Jonah, he expected something. He expected him to do what he said, rise, go, okay? Now, once we get ourselves in the way, then we have an issue. He had forgotten some things Jonah had. When God calls, by the way, does he call those of us who are not pastors, who are not in some called position or voted on position? He calls everyone. Got something for every one of us. I'm sure that when Wayne was, he didn't used to be this kind of singer. What were you? You weren't a baritone. But what voice did you have? Bass. Okay, all right. But he wasn't always that way. George Beverly Shea, I've read his books before. When he started singing as a young person, had a totally different voice than he did when we most remembered him. Okay, my point: God can mold, can shape, can change, can do anything. I'm sure if I talked to, well, let's see, I got 1, 2, 3. One's back there hiding in the sound booth. 4 either preachers or whatever. Jack. We don't know what Jack is anymore. Okay. But Jack, you get the message from these gentlemen and their background from which they came. And do you shake your head sometimes and you say, how did God do that? But then you have to take a look at yourself. You ain't much better, okay? I was lost as a ball in tall weeds, and you think everything's all right, you're living all right, you look all right, you maybe smell all right, but you ain't all right because you're not being obedient. And Jonah, the point of Jonah is that when he decided he was going to run, which we all understand you cannot run, if you look at the next couple of verses here, let's go to 2. It says, rise and go to Nineveh. We just talked about, he didn't want to go there. Terrible city, okay? And cry against it, for their wickedness has come up before me. But Jonah rose up to flee from Tarshish from the presence of the Lord. I want you to focus on that word, from the presence of the Lord. Now look down at the last part of that verse 3. And said that he went to, and with them and to Tarshish from the presence of the Lord. Look over to verse number 10, the last part. From the presence of the Lord. There is no such place. I don't care if you buy a ticket to this place. He goes to Joppa, jumps on a ship, and this place he's sailing to is in Spain. It's on the Atlantic side of Spain. I don't think the town even exists anymore, okay? That's where, it's not exactly hop, skip, and a jump down the road, okay? He's going to go as far away as he possibly could because he thinks he's going to be able to leave the Lord behind. So, here we are. We are dislocated physically. We are dislocated task-wise, and we're dislocated on being in the same relationship. Now, God has a way of doing things to us that we don't quite understand. And sometimes there's such extremes to get our attention. So he jumps on this ship. Okay, we all know the story. Okay, there's a storm that arises. Okay. This ship, by the way, is not a Hebrew-run ship. Okay. This is a bunch of other God-believing people. Okay. And a storm arises. Doesn't it amaze you how many things in stories in the Bible, there's always a storm involved? There's a storm. You ever have storms in your life? Sure you do. Sure you do. Okay? But if you've run from the source of the storm controller, you feel like there's no hope. And I'm sure that's how Jonah must have felt at this time. I don't understand what God's trying to do to me. I'm upset about what's going on. I would rather stay in my own little comfortable lifestyle. And you're sending me, God, to an evil city. Evil city. Okay? Now, all of us know that this was the first really major revival. Would we all agree with that in the Bible? Okay, huge revival. There's something to be learned here. Eventually, Jonah does go, and there is revival. Where is the city of Nineveh today? Huh? Where'd it go? I thought it was revived. You know, we have revival meetings every year. Back when I was a new Christian, a long time ago, we had outdoor revivals for a week. And when we said outdoor, you were there from 5 till the bugs are out. Right? Remember the last big one we had in Miamisburg, the tent revival there? I tell you, it was on a football field. They always have them in August. Don't ask me why. They always seem like we have revival in August. And this tells you how old I am. The funeral homes are there to actually give you fans. You remember the funeral home fans? Okay. The only way you stay cool, Joyce. The only way it was. Okay. But the point is here that even though they experienced revival, is revival in some cases an ongoing process? Sure. Okay? We just had revival. I haven't heard anybody run down the hall yet and say, "Hi, this morning I got revived." Did that happen? Sure it could. Okay? But I'm deviating here for a second just to think about when we turn our back, God loved, what John 3:16, for God so loved the world. Why would he be concerned about it? He said right here, verse number 2, against it, for their wickedness is come up before me. God said that, okay? But he what? He loved them. He loved the world. He loved the world. Go, preach to them revival. No, not going. Now, that takes us in pretty much to what are going to be the adverse consequences of decisions that aren't very well thought through. Well, as you read the rest of chapter 1, almost the rest of chapter 1, you see in there, and we'll read it here as we go through it, as we go along. You see here that there's a lot of things that happen. Number 1, I think Jonah was an honest man. When he got on this ship and the storm arose, how did the rest of the group know that he was different? Because he told them. He said, "This is what I've done. This is why I'm running." Well, you're the odd lot here, so to speak. So it comes time to think, this storm came up. And when you're out in any large body of water, I tell you, the most afraid I've ever been, I've been on a couple cruises in the Atlantic and the Caribbean. The most fearful I was one day with my preacher in Michigan on Lake Superior, Michigan. That'll scare you to death. There it is. You know what I'm talking about. It's just there. This storm was there for a purpose. Not so purpose to destroy anybody, to get the attention that there was a price to be paid here. So they took lots, and they decided that, Jonah, you're the odd man out. Did they ask him to gently put on a life jacket and get off? No, they threw him into the sea. I think God did. Okay? Now, I don't know if each of you is a good swimmer, no swimmer, bad swimmer. It makes no difference. When you're in the middle of the sea and you're just thrown out there, probably the last thing you expect to be able to do is to reach land. Okay? Very difficult. Now, here comes the most controversial part of the whole book of Jonah. And for whatever reason, I do not know. It says he was swallowed by a large fish. Every little kid that grows up in church remembers the book of Jonah for one reason and one reason only. And if this is your focus, you missed the boat. Okay? God can do anything. Anything. If he needs to grow a new fish to swallow this man, so be it. I know one thing for sure. If it were a whale's not a fish. But that's neither here nor there. The point is that he was to be punished, and he was swallowed by this large sea fish, monster, whatever you want to call it. Okay? Now, I've never been in the belly of a fish. Don't have a desire to be there. But I'm sure it's very dark. Probably has a certain odor to it. I'm sure there's not comfortable seating. But he's going to be in there for 3 days. That sound like another story you're familiar with? In fact, Christ uses that just before his death and talk about him being on the earth for 3 days and 3 nights, just as Jonah. Okay? But the point is this. God sometimes has to take drastic actions to move us someplace where we cannot be confounded, confused, or compromised on what he asks us to do. Most everybody has their own little prayer closet where you can just get alone. Mine happens to be in my workshop in the garage because that's the only place I'm allowed to be me. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. The point is, you got to have some place where sometimes you just get alone. You just get alone. And when you're alone, you don't have to say anything. When I find out when I'm alone, I'm listening. And you cannot be listening unless you are silent. And I think that's why God put him in. God didn't hate Jonah. God loves everybody. But he was willing to give him time to rationally think through what he had done. And it didn't take long for this fish to get sick of Jonah. You know, he probably had indigestion for 3 days. You know, I can't. And just thinking about where he was, and he gets spewed out, coughed out, whatever he does, on land. Okay? So we spend so much time on this because I think we need to understand that Jonah is not a bad person. He is a misled person by circumstances of his environment. I still maintain that every one of us, if we are called, and I've talked to a lot of pastors in my life and missionaries, and the fact remains, they have a very, I shouldn't say difficult, it's almost an inexplicable sequence of events that led up to their decision. God led me here. I've heard you talk. He led me here. Why'd you leave a molder's job making 10 times as much as you did in your first? You had to give that up. Some people say, the man's crazy. My dad used to always talk to me, hit me all the time and said, if you want to get a job that you can't get fired from and don't have to work very hard, become a preacher. And I could tell very quickly after I got close to preachers, that's not their life at all. Okay? Yeah. So, penalty. There's a penalty for everything you do. I'll end with one example here. When I was in high school, I was an average to good student. And in my junior year, I had a courses to select. Now, this is back in 1962 when Ted was just a baby, okay? And one of the classes I wanted to take was typing. Now, boys didn't take typing. Yeah, that's for the girls who were going to become stenographers and office personnel, so on and so forth. My rationale was that I thought at some time I'm going to need to learn how to do this during my college years or professionally, and I'm glad I did. I took the course. But here's the but. I'm not saying this bragging. I'm just giving you a comparison. I was on the honor society, which means you had to maintain a 3.8 or 4-point system. And I loved school. I really did. And I wanted to take typing. It's just 2 semesters, was it, or 1? 2? Okay. And I told the typing teacher, Miss Samuel, all I want to do, Joyce, is just learn how to type ASDFJKL semicolon. That's all I wanted to do. Okay. And she says, well, that's why we have the class. Well, I think I got all the way up to 28 words a minute, and man, I was humble. Another reason why I wanted to get in the class, and I didn't realize it at the time, forgive me, there were 23 people in the class, 22 of which were girls. I was the only guy in there. So, you can't flunk typing. Guess who did? Pastor, when they got into prepping all these business letters and all these different margins and putting this on, I don't care. I just want to learn how to type. ASDFJKO semicolon. I can remember the first line we had to type over and over. Now's the time for all good men to come to the aid of their country. That's what we typed over and over and over again. My point is this. I didn't care to know all that detailed stuff. I just wanted to learn to type. So, come the end of the semester, guess what grade I got? Sometimes referred to as a one-legged A. Fail. Goodbye, honor society. I didn't want to go home with that report card, but I did. My dad saw that. He didn't get upset. He didn't yell at me, which I thought would be the case. He just looked at me and said, I'm disappointed. Sometimes I think that's the way God, my Father, talks to me. I'm disappointed. Not angry with you. I don't not love you anymore. I'm disappointed. So the easiest way for me to do next semester was to what? Don't take typing 2. Okay? I learned how to type. I think I got all the way up to, like I said, 30 words a minute or something like that. But my goal was just to do one thing, but I wasn't willing to pay the price. Are you willing to pay the price? Jonah had to have that time to himself to realize what he was going to do here forward. And we're going to talk about some of the surrounding things that happened in his life, some of which weren't pleasant either. But the point is, we can use Jonah as an example. When we are given the word and asked to do certain things, I'm not going to ask, don't raise your hand, please. Please. How many of you tithe because you want to? How many of you tithe because you feel you have to? How many of you understand that when we give to missions, That translates to lives being changed and saved. Okay? And that's another way for us to show our allegiance to God's commandment. Those types of things that don't seem to be impressive, they're just ongoing. You just do them. You know, it just becomes a way of your life. It becomes a way of satisfying what you're expected to do. Expectations are tough today. We are living in a time where there are very few expectations left. Just fill in the blank. I don't care where you go. I don't care if it has to do with religious beliefs in people as a whole, treating people with some grace and some patience. We are just seems like an individualistic driven nation, and we have no place and no time for God. That's what Jonah thought. All right, let's pray. Father, I thank you for your examples that you give us in your word, Father, that there are so many things that we take for granted, Father, but the one thing we cannot take for granted is, Father, that you are just a forgiving, loving God, and hoping and wishing that things happen is not the way you work. You just make things happen for us and with us. And Father, we ask that you bless us and continue to show your love for this church and for our people, for our neighborhoods, Father, that we are willing to go, to arise and to go, and to let others know. Father, thank you for this time. We look forward to the morning service. We give you all the praise, the honor, and the glory.